Let's go ahead and continue what we're doing and connect the middle of the bridge of the nose to the eye socket eyelid area. You see these connect together very nicely. You'll see once that polygon gets too wide, stop what you're doing, maybe extrude an edge and leave a space open. So you gotta make these decisions as you go. So sometimes I'll connect to extrude an edge, pull it over and see, okay, can I create a good space here and maybe do an end-on poly split, maybe reduce some detail where the eye socket is rather than create a whole another edge loop. So I'm kind of spacing these over, making sure the arcs are continually making the arcs smoother and going through here and grabbing that whole edge loop there down almost to the nostril and extruding that whole edge out. And just keep making the curves smoother and rounder and then do the target weld when it makes sense. And bring these over to the side. You see they're very parallel, so there we go. So make sure there's no straight lines in there. And I know when it gets to the bottom of that nose, I'm going to need one of the faces going in the other direction, so I'm kind of leaving some room over there. And I don't have this preset, so I'm kind of making this up as I go. So I'm kind of thinking through, okay, where does it make sense? So if I get stuck there, I'll just stop for a minute and say, okay, let's do the chin. The chin's easy. We're going to go down below the bottom of the lip, make sure we're following the curves on our reference. And as we go, I can bring these out, make sure they're not all parallel to each other to match the curve of the lips themselves. Bring that over, bring that one over. And you see the little openings left there. Just switch over to vertex mode, grab a target weld, and snap those back together. And maybe do a different polygon there for the corner of the mouth. Taking a look at this is sped up, by the way, about to 150%, so I'm going a little faster just because I was thinking a lot while I was doing this and making a lot of decisions. So I didn't want you guys to sit through another slow video, so I kind of sped this up a little bit and did the voiceover after. So I thought for this particular portion it'd be beneficial to move a little faster through the curriculum. And here I can see really the polygons are varying a lot in their size. So I'm kind of looking at that from the side, seeing where the curves from that quarter turn angle, making sure from the side of the cheek, is it curving around enough from the bottom up view, and then deciding, okay, these are maybe getting where I can just do a shift drag, bring it out and reconnect and have that little diamond quad at the corner of the mouth and leave that nasolabial coming down from the edge of the nostril. Yeah, sorry about the speed there, the flicker. Maybe that's a little too fast, but you guys can always slow it down if the moves. I'm getting a lot of clipping. I have a face over there to the side. I should have put that on its own layer, channel layer, and hidden it a while back. There we go. Shift drag all the way down underneath the chin. Boom. That was nice and easy to do. And I don't necessarily need all those polygons to go into the neck. So as I go underneath the chin, underneath the bottom lip and underneath the chin, there you go. There's a natural place to do an end-on poly split. So you could just cut across there and then do the diagonal cut across the corner. And now we have a very nice smoothing when we do that. And that's actually a nice natural place for the bone of the bony protrusion of the chin to stick out and kind of curve underneath the bottom portion of the lip. So another shift drag underneath the jaw, going up to the chin. You can see I have one quad there that's going to combine into two quads. So same thing, I'll pull that back, go to vertex mode, snap that vertex over, and same concept here, just grab two edges, bridge together, and you have another end-on poly. So it's another way to do the end-on poly split where you um, go from two rows of faces to a single. And just taking a look here where to go to next. So I'm kind of counting and looking where. Now we're going to go to that backside of the nostril finally. So yeah, it's got to come out to the side a bit. I kind of flatten it out and deciding, okay, can I fan this out and around from the bottom around this nostril to the top, and then curve that as I go and kind of, just fan those edge rings around. Those are the edge rings are the ones that are non-contiguous, right? If an edge continues, a series of edges between vertices, that's an edge loop. an edge ring is when they're kind of parallel, more parallel to each other on the side here. So again, I'm trying to decide how to connect it. And this is what the thought process you want to go through, right? So how am I reducing all these edge loops? I'm going to go back to the easier part here for a moment and say, oh, that's a little bit long, slivery. Let's keep smoothing those around before I go back to the harder part where I have a lot of edge loops still to reduce. There's the top of the cheek, the lacrimal gland up in the top of the eye socket, of the temple, pushing those over. And then the cheekbone here for sure, those got to come out. The arc needs to curve outward a little bit more. I wish I had moved that model so the clipping wasn't on the recording. Sorry, guys. Oh well, yeah. So underneath the jawline to the cheek, I can maybe continue an edge loop all the way down around the neck where the throat is, so I can get rid of that edge loop and say, all right, if that's a little too big, we are going to reduce it, but it doesn't need to happen right then, right there. We can come back to it and go down underneath the windpipe to the throat instead. So as I come up around the cheek here, I can see, yeah, that's a really big sliver of a quad right there. So I'm bringing the jawline. So the jawline is really important. I actually struggle a lot with the jawline early on when I was doing characters. And so kind of moving that, making space for underneath the chin as well as the jaw. You say I accidentally hit an extra vertex. There we go. So a nice big quad. That's a good one to split into three. And then I have a little extra vertex there. Just delete it. That's okay. You can delete a single vertex that's floating if you did one on accident. There we go. So that's looking much better. So I'm still looking at, I want this jawline to come down. So I think cutting an edge loop and having a firm jawline will really help with the animation as well as just the overall modeling technique. So I'm kind of looking at that as I'm pulling these edge loops and kind of widening them out. So as they flow away from the detailed area, you can kind of scale the edges up a little bit because they're going from higher resolution detail to less detailed area of the face. So you can kind of hedge your bet there. And as you extrude out an edge, you can scale. So I'm looking at it from every angle again, from the top down, and there we go. And we're continuing to close this up. So we're really getting the neck figured out here. So I'm widening. I think I ended up widening the neck a little bit too much, going back and checking the reference again. So she's got a really more of a petite feminine neck than a thicker, more masculine neck. And so taking a look at that, because the barrel distortion, looking at where the harsher lines are in the abstract form, a sense of the word, you can see on the Furrow book, you have the right side has more angular, sharper edges, and the left side of that face, at least viewer left side, has the softened spaces. So I'm kind of looking at these edges. Okay, where can I hold these edge lines and where can I accentuate where the transitions are? And so I ended up bringing these down quite a bit and scaling these, bringing this into, or widening, I guess. The bridge of the nose, I think I go back and narrow it, but I want that edge to stand out. And then up here at the top of the brow, kind of matching the reference a little bit. And yeah, again, this is sped up about 150%, so it's just sped up a tiny bit, not too much, but I am thinking a lot while going through these, so bringing that down, that's kind of matching the brow a little bit better. And looking at that edge there, especially from the quarter turn angle, looking where that lacrimal gland is going to stand out. I want that shadow to catch. It's probably the hardest part is getting that soft edge going up into the brow region of the eye socket, like getting that just right to curve around the turn is super hard to get the first time. So expect to go back and fix and change this and bring it out and push it forward and bring it back in. And your eye sockets sometimes will be set too far out of the eye, or the eyeball will be set too far out of the eye socket. You have to push them back in, or vice versa. You have them too deep set, you got to push them back out again. I'm looking at that temple region, look at that edge loop on the reference, and we're taking this whole edge right here, we'll set of vertices, and we're pulling that in to get that temple region in the front of the skull more accurate up to the hairline. I still have those open areas that I got to fix, so that's no problem. We'll come back to those. And I go back and forth a little bit with these. I push them. Again, it's easier once you get to the sculpting application, but we're trying to make the base mesh, the base cage first, and we can sculpt it later. Now I'm looking at this nice curvature in the inside, so I can definitely go in here and I can scale those together. And once I get them close enough, I just go to vertex mode and make sure I don't have any selected and then go merge vertex and drag one to the other, and just be really careful. I don't have anything selected on accident that might cause trouble. And then preparing the connection points here again, kind of pulling these vertices out to elongate and make the shape of the quads kind of match where I'm going to bridge together and finish some of these off and make sure I don't get any weird intersections as I go. As it comes around the point here, I want to bring these edges down and extrude the edge loops, but then you'll see there we go, as I bring that out, this one here is going to target weld across the side, and then the other row is going to pull and let that. So there's a transition there. You're going to have a 5-spoke intersection. So you should have a 5-spoke and a 3-spoke at the right areas, right? It's part of the topology flow. So where things become three-dimensional, they have to have a 3-edge intersection or 5-edge intersection. They can't all be 4-edge. They're all quads, but the intersections can have 3 edges going to the vertex or 5 sometimes. There we go. So that's a good mask set of edge loops there. So you were to flow that around the nose and around the eye socket and eyelids. Those are flowing nicely. Pretty happy with that. I haven't started shaping it more for the angles of the cheekbone yet from the reference, but I'm getting there. First want to, there we go. So I'm starting to look at how that edge flows and how it comes up on the outside. Something that's really easy to miss is getting that cheekbone coming up, and it really pushes up. And then the front of the cheekbone as it comes around the eye socket, you want to get that done correctly as well. So grabbing that whole set of edge loops there and pulling them down, extruding. And then in between the extrusion, I just grab the two accompanying edges and we can bridge between them. So top-down view, starting to curve out a little much. Don't want to get any diamond shapes. You want to keep the angle of a lot of these edges. You want to keep them. There's the bridge. There we go. You want to keep them, as closer to 90 degrees as possible, but not 90 degrees, right? You don't want anything totally sharp. There we go. So I'm going to push that in, trying to continue that flow down. So from here, from above the lip, around the nose to the cheek, you just start connecting these edge loops as you go. So if I find any errors, you fix them as you go. There's another 5-star on the top of the lip, but that's a good point to put it. So there we go. Grab that whole row, bring them up, bridge between the two to connect the top, and then change the flow so they're not too parallel to each other. After I've extruded a large group of faces like that from the edge. Down here below the chin, I did that really quickly and I never went back and kind of fixed the arc flow. It's very kind of straight and grid-like. You want to avoid the grid-like look whenever possible. So we'll come back and look at the lips and continuing the cheek here in the next video.